Hey, what's up, everybody? I just want to hop on for a minute and talk a little bit about Project Me and how it's going. And really, I got to thinking about this, and for any self-improvement, I think it's a puzzle. It's a three-piece puzzle, and I think there's three pieces that are so important. I compare it to the fire triangle. If you've ever heard of the fire triangle, it's a fire needs three things to burn. It needs an ignition source, some kind of spark, and it needs the fuel to keep it burning, whether that be gasoline, paper, boxes, wood, whatever. And it needs oxygen, which oxygen is just present in the air, but without it, a fire won't burn. If it's in an inert atmosphere, you might get a spark and you might have the fuel there, but the fire's not going to burn. So how do I compare that to self-improvement? Well, for me, the three-piece puzzle for self-improvement is you got to have goals, right? And to me, you don't have any of it if you don't have a goal there. So to me, that goal is like the oxygen, because without it, your atmosphere is just inert. You got to have the spark, the ignition source. All right. So what's your ignition source? For most people, it's motivation. So motivation can be that ignition source. It can produce that spark or that flame, but it's eventually going to fizzle out if it doesn't have the fuel or the oxygen. So fuel. All right, Craig, what's the fuel? Well, for me, and I think for most of us, even if you haven't thought about it this way, the fuel for this triangle, for this improvement puzzle, has got to be discipline. Without the discipline, you're never going to keep the fire burning. So you got a goal, right? Your atmosphere is not inert anymore. There's a reason you got the goal. You got the motivation for the ignition source. Something has motivated you, whether it's you, something else, but it'll fade unless you feed it with the fuel of discipline. So the three-piece puzzle for self-improvement: motivation, discipline, and goals. Get those three things in place in the same puzzle and you're going to have a wild ride. It takes some work. It takes some planning. It takes some dedication. It takes some relentlessness. But look, you know what it takes. You got it. Find your motivation, find your fuel, and set your goals and take off, and you're going to be amazed. Think about it this way. In 6 months from now, are you going to look back and say, man, I haven't made any progress? Or are you going to be, 2 weeks into a process and say, man, I made some progress, but I just wish I would have started. I wish I would have started 6 months ago. So what you got to do? You got to look back. You got to say, man, I'm glad I started. Look at me now. Let's go another round. What's it going to be? For me, I'm glad I started when I did, and I started months and months ago. My process has not been a fast one, and nor was it intended to be. So just remember those three puzzle pieces. Remember that, and you'll get some momentum going. Momentum is great tool to have. So utilize it. Y'all have a good night.